All right, welcome back to another episode of Ask the Skinny Guy Savior. I'm Vince Del Monte, and we're downstairs in Gym Del Monte. We got another great round of questions here. The first one here is from Danielle Boducci, and he says, "Hey Vince, have you ever used M.A.T, which is muscle activation techniques? I've heard about it from Ben Pakulski and Charles Poliquin, but I've never seen how it actually works. Have you ever used it? If so, what kind of improvements have you experienced? Can you show it in one of your 8 episodes? Thanks in advance. You're the best. Keep up the great work. Best wishes." No chance I can show it in any of these videos. M.A.T is by far the most effective form of therapy in the world. I'll let you guys check it out for yourself. You really need to find a M.A.T therapist in your area, and this is probably by far the most mind-blowing stuff that I've ever experienced. And if you go to muscleactivation.com, you can read all about it. It was created by a man named Greg Roscoff. Brilliant, beyond belief. Just blow your mind if you heard this guy speak. Actually, he's one of our Secrets of the Pros in Hypertrophy Max. So Hypertrophy Max members are going to get to meet Greg in a future episode. I know Ben flies out to Colorado on a regular basis to get treated by him. I'm going to keep this going a little longer than a minute, but this specific technique basically uses force to determine what is not contracting properly on your body. And as we all know, the body has a beautiful built-in mechanism called compensation to accommodate for muscles that aren't firing, aren't doing their jobs, but at the same time it causes other muscles to become inefficient, non-contractile, and they don't do their job. So either they don't develop, or they create a weakness in a certain part of the body, which forces another part of the body to compensate and can lead to long-term problems down the road. So go to muscleactivation.com and just start reading up on it. Google search or YouTube search Greg Roscoff and watch anything he puts out. And for the Hypertrophy Max members, you'll get to meet him in, I believe it's phase 4 or 5. And we do a long interview with him, and it's absolutely brilliant. I personally have had M.A.T done on myself, and what was crazy, I'll just share my own story, is when I went in, I was complaining about a shoulder issue. And after the treatment, it was a 1-hour treatment, he found all these muscles in my feet that weren't doing their job. And essentially, what I learned was that, and this is true to be related to a lot of people with injuries, is that oftentimes when you have an ache or a pain, if you have an ache in your knee, it has nothing to do with your knee. Usually it's because some other part of your body, probably something lower down in the chain, is not creating a solid base of support. Your body is compensating, and that force is going through that knee, causing the issue. So with my experience, I went in one day, I said my shoulder's bugging me. I had no range of motion. I couldn't do external rotation with my arm. He treated my feet. He didn't even touch my shoulder. At the end of the treatment, I had more range of motion through my shoulder. And it was because your body is brilliant. It's an absolutely brilliant machine, and it learns how to compensate to protect itself. So my body was doing some weird things because there was an instability lower below the chain. Same thing, one time I went in and I had my right hamstring was killing. He did some stuff to my feet, and it was because my pelvis was unbalanced. Next thing I know, the pain from my hamstring went away. Didn't touch my hamstring. It was crazy. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? So muscle activation, for everybody who's in the Toronto area, I know there's some great guys in the Toronto area. I know there's some great guy. Greg is out in Colorado. I don't know if you can get access to him. I think he has like half a year, maybe longer waiting lists. I've done a lot of therapy, and you know, I've done ART and it's great, but it's just kind of 1-2. I find that M.A.T, it figures out the root problem, and if you can find an M.A.T therapist, oh my God, it's unbelievable. It's literally like these guys are doing magic, but I mean, it's really, really cool stuff. And if you have something that's bothering you, if you can get yourself or whoever is bothering, maybe a friend or a spouse or a loved one of yours, if you can get them in contact with an M.A.T therapist, it'll blow your mind. And they got a thing on their website, find a specialist in your area. So I'll let you do your due diligence, and you can see where these guys are located. Yeah, and they've got tons of great information on their website here, it looks like. So a little plug there for M.A.T. And I only make that plug because it truly made a huge difference in my life, and as you know, Ben mentioned as well. So okay, a question from Wesley Jennings. This is a good question. He says, hey Vince, is delayed onset muscle soreness a sure sign of growth? No, it's a sure sign that you've broken down the tissue, which is just one component. Remember, the training effect is a result of two things: training plus recovery. So if you don't recover from the training, you don't experience the training effect, all right? So muscle soreness is an indication that you've torn something, you've ripped something, you've broken something down, you've damaged something, and the soreness is from a cascade of release of different chemicals in your body that cause the soreness. That muscle tissue doesn't become bigger and stronger, doesn't rebuild itself until you recover completely. Okay, so it's basically one step. It's like step one, check it off. Step two, now make sure we recover, and that's a sure sign of muscle growth, all right? Okay, good question here. We'll take one more question from Francis. Francis says, can you cut for longer than 16 weeks? I'm cutting right now, but want to do it progressively. I need to lose 30 pounds of body fat, but wondered if it was okay to take 20 weeks to get there instead of 15 or 16 weeks. Also, is it harder to drop body fat in winter rather than wait till spring? Your thoughts are greatly appreciated. I would say it's easier to cut fat through the winter time because, I mean, you're covered up and you're not going to barbecues, you're not going to the beach, you're not outdoors in, you know, tank tops and you want to show off. So, you know, I always feel like, you know, the best time to say do a show would be like in June, because then you're ready for the summertime. You're in shape, you're fitter than everybody else. So in terms of how long you should cut for, there's no set rule, but I highly recommend you do not spend any longer than 3 or 4 months in a caloric deficit. It will lead to metabolic and hormonal problems. And I think it's a huge mistake. You know, I watched that show, The Biggest Loser, and these guys are in a caloric deficit for months and months. Horrible, horrible. If I was the trainer on that show, after 3 or 4 months, I would put them back up to maintenance calories for a week, and I'd probably even put some of them in a caloric surplus for a week as well. Just get everything ramped up again, get their metabolism ramped up, get their hormones ramped up, and then we go back into a caloric deficit. So I wouldn't recommend being in a caloric deficit longer than 3 to 4 months. Very unhealthy. Most people can drop like 30, 40 pounds in that time frame and then bring your calories up for a week or two and then start your cut again. That's how I would do it. Okay, 3 good questions, guys. I hope that was helpful. There's a lot more here still to go, and we'll just keep banging them out one at a time. So what I recommend you guys do, if you haven't joined Live Large TV, we're in season 4 right now. It's the highlight of my week, uploading the show for you and organizing all this content in a more in-depth fashion, in an entertaining way. We take your questions and we deliver it in a fun TV show style. If you haven't watched it yet, I highly recommend you give it a shot. Try it out for a month, and I guarantee you that it'll turn into your one-stop shop for info and for getting motivated and for getting focused and for getting all the tools you need to transform your physique. And you'll also be joined by thousands of other members that tune in every week at 7 p.m. Eastern to watch that show. So I put a link for you guys below. I hope you join, and there's always a little bonus there for joining right now. So I always do little incentives for people that join. You know, if you join this week, you'll get something. If you join next week, you might get something different or nothing at all. I always switch it up. So I always try to make it a little more incentivizing for you. So check that out, and I hope to have you there in our private inner circle, and we'll keep making your physique goals become a reality. All right, we'll see you guys soon.